Hello everyone, my name is Kelvin Sanchez, FIDE Master, and right now we are going to analyze the game of the month from the Columbia Chess Club. Okay, they have an interesting tournament all the month. It's the Tunnelvision tournament, and this tournament is in the second Saturday all the month. And from this month, we are going to analyze the best game played in all the sections. So, and I will be starting right now with the analysis of the game between Meilinger against Benjamin Dawkins. And the first is congratulations to Michael because he won the tournament with I think it was with 4 points. And then this game was in the round number 3. So, and it was very, very interesting, especially with the concept inside the game. And let's start immediately. Okay, so go ahead. It's in this case the white start with e4. Okay, beginning with an open variation. e45, knight c3, and after knight c3, the black played knight on f6. I don't recommend to play this knight on f6 too much because the problem is that the black will be forced to play inside the variation that the white decide. Okay, this is the Vienna opening. The Vienna opening is beginning with the pawn on f4, and now the black, it's not forced, but it's the main option to play with the pawn on d5, okay, to generate the counterplay against the center immediately. And after pawn capture on e5, knight capture on e4, and well, this was an interesting game. Other variations possible is e takes d5, and the black can decide between two options. One option is e take f4, and the other option is to play simple with the pawn on e4, okay? So this is very interesting line, but in this case, normally I recommend to play knight on c6. It's more flexible because the key is that if the white play with the pawn on f4, the black can simply decide and capture on f4, and it's transforming the position to a king's gambit opening, okay? And in this position, the black has many possibilities. They can play with the pawn on g5, they can play with the pawn on d6, with the bishop on b4, okay? And in this condition, the black will be playing a very good game, okay? But after that, knight f6, f4, and the black used knight c6. This knight c6 is a mistake, okay? The double question mark, it's meaning that it's a mistake, okay? In this case, the problem is that when the white capture and the black capture back with the knight on e5, the problem is that the white will be able to play with the pawn on d4. And this option with the pawn on d4 is interesting because right now, the white is dominating the center, okay, with the 2 pawns. And eventually, they will be developing the pieces with the knight on f3, bishop on g5, probably bishop on d3, and the domination on the center, it's not easy for black because the black will be restrained to develop the bishop, especially the bishop on f8, or the white can start with attack after e5. For example, if we move the knight here, the white can simply play e5, and e5 is attacking the knight, and it's forcing the black player to go back again with the knight, okay? So probably here is the only option because the other squares are totally dominated for the white player, okay? So in this case, it's really, really bad because the develop for black will be affected with this domination on the center. Anyway, instead that the black use this option, I take e4, and I take e4, it's not good because in this case, when the white capture and queen on f4, on h4, this was the variation used in the game, the white can simply move the knight, and now the black is playing with one piece down, okay? So technically, this position from here, it's totally loose. But we will be analyzing how the game advanced and the possible options that the black had in their favor to get enough advantage to convert the game. But after this, knight take e5, queen e2 spinning the knight, okay? So bishop d6 and now knight f3. Another option interesting is to play d4, because after queen capture, now knight on f3, and knight on f3 is attacking, so, and the knight is pinned. And technically, we can simply try to develop the bishop on f4 and generate initiative against the knight. It's just to get initiative in the development and to get some extra times. But instead, that knight f3 is enough, queen e7, and knight take e5. Bishop take e5 and knight f5. Knight f5 is excellent, okay, because knight f5 is attacking the queen. And in this case, it's forcing the exchange of the pieces, okay? And this is one of the most important things that I recommend when I am teaching kids. It's you can simplify the positions, okay, to trade off all the pieces, and then you will be able to win the endgame, because in the endgame you will have an extra material, okay? So this is the situation that happened now. For example, the white has two bishop. If the white simplify these two bishop against the two bishop, queen against the queen, rooks against the rooks, so technically the white will be playing with the extra knight. And this extra knight is enough because the white will be playing with knight and pawns against only pawns. So this is one of the good options to generate to convert the game very well and easily. The other idea it's to simply try to develop more pieces, but technically when you have material advantage, this is the best plan. It's easy plan. You don't need to win by the checkmate. You don't need to force attack against the opponent, against the position of your opponent, basically. But this idea is the easy plan, okay? Instead not, after knight f5, so queen f6, and now the white used knight g3 back, okay? So this is bad because technically, if you move the knight on f5, you need to try advance to go forward, instead to attack, and when he defend, go back. No, the idea was that after knight f5 here, the white can play d4, and with the d4 is forcing the exchange of the pieces. So when the white capture now on f5, so when the black capture on f5, the white capture on e5, forcing the exchange of the queens, and now in this position, the white will be playing with two bishops against only one. So again, if we simplify the pieces, the same pieces, bishop against the bishop, rooks against the rooks. So in the end game, the white will be playing with the extra bishop in the dark squares, okay? So it's very interesting possibility. And it's the easy plan to convert the advantage. But after that, knight g3, so short castle, and with the short castle, queen f2. And after queen f2, it's okay, it's following the idea to trade the queens. So queen e6 and now bishop d3. And bishop d3 is a really, really bad move, okay? Because now it's turn for black, and the black has a discover attack, okay? The discover attack is the queen, it's attacking the king, and the black needs to move the bishop to generate attack. So I recommend that you can stop the video and you can try to find the best option for black to get material advantage, okay? And once that you stop the video, if you find the variation is very good, but the right move to generate advantage is simple bishop take g3. It's discover attack, okay? So the king is attacking again, the queen is attacking against the king, but at the same time, the black is winning the knight, okay? And in the same time, it's pinning the queen. So that means that the white doesn't have an option to defend the king with the queen. So then, in this case, the white player will be forced to move the king anywhere, and when the white player moves the king, the queen is hanging on f2. Okay, this was a totally winning move. After bishop e2, for example, the king can continue bishop take, and queen f6. And after bishop f3, d6, and you can develop the bishop. And in this position, the black will be playing with the queen against the bishop on c1, okay? this was an easy option for black to generate initiative and win the game immediately. So instead that, simple, they play bishop take b2, okay? They try to capture the piece. And one of the things, probably you cannot see very well, but the time for the player right now was 37 minutes and 47 seconds. And after that, his time was 37 minutes and 34 seconds. So probably he used, 17 seconds to analyze this position. No, because in this case, this is other recommendation. When you have to move, when you have to establish your plan, you have to analyze in order, okay? What is the good order or the easy order to analyze the game? The checks, the captures, and the threats. When you analyze in that order, it's like you will be able to recognize the good possibility in the position, and you will be analyzing all the options possible that can help your pieces to progress in the attack, okay? Or if you don't have any option to attack, so then you can establish a specific plan, but at the same time, you are not hanging any possibility, okay? So this is an interesting option. After this bishop take b2, it's obvious that the black is winning the rook, but it's not the best option because the bishop will be trapped on that square on a1, and in the same time, it's just winning the rook instead to win the knight and the queen against the same bishop. But anyway, after this, knight e2, so bishop take a1, pawn c3, and rook e8. It's okay. So right now, the black can simply try to attack here, but it's okay, reinforcing the initiative throughout the e-file. So after short castle d6 to develop pieces, knight d4, queen d7, okay? Other option possible here, it's simple to move queen here, because the main idea is to move the bishop on e6 to try to support the piece on f7. It's not possible to make a move like, for example, queen h6, because against these blunders, this is a simple initiative after queen take f7 and simple queen capture the rook mate. Or if he moved the queen on e7, this is other possibility. But in this position, the white can simple try to move the bishop on a3. The rook is taking the bishop on a1 because the bishop on a1 is trapped. And in this position is advantage for the white player again, okay? Because the white will have two pieces against the rook in the middle game, okay? Instead after that, queen d7, so knight f3, and after knight f3 is interesting because he's threatening to move the knight on g5. Simple bishop a3, it's enough because the rook will be taking the bishop, okay, and that's it. He cannot move the queen here attacking the bishop because queen take f7 is winning. So this is the problem, that the black player is forced to be protecting the pawn on f7. It's forced to protect the pawn on f7. Anyway, so knight f3, and after this he played queen c6. Instead, queen c6, queen e7 was enough, because after this initiative, well, g5 is protect. I won't analyze too much, because if knight g5, it's not possible to capture, because this queen take f7 is enough. But after this, it's probably possible to simple move, probably g6, I guess. And after g6, the bishop cannot inside, attacking against h7. And if he capture, you can capture. And when the rook capture, h6 is attacking the knight, and the king is attacking the bishop, the rook on f7. So it's another good option. Instead that, queen c6, and after queen c6, the white used this definition that this was excellent. This is the reason because I consider this game like the best game of the tournament, because this sacrifice is very, very interesting, and sometimes we need some conditions to establish the sacrifice. I will be explaining the conditions after to finish the game, like a plus to understand the sacrifice. But after this, the main idea is after bishop take h7, king capture. Normally, I recommend all the time to capture because it's time for the player who is doing the sacrifice to demonstrate that they have the knowledge to win the game. Okay, so that the analysis that the player who is sacrificing the bishop, the analysis is correct, and not all the time that situation is correct. So this is the reason, because normally I recommend to capture and go outside, but in this specific case, this sacrifice is perfect, because the problem is that the king is not protecting with another piece, and the white player is using the knight, queen, and rook attacking against the king that it's alone. So this is the reason, because it's good. And in this case, the white used queen h4. Queen h4 is the bad move. The good move was to play the knight on g5, because after knight g5, if he play here, simple this check, and after here, simple this check, and after here, simple this mate. Okay, so this is a forced checkmate. But if he play here, so we can simply play queen f7, and after this, rook f6, and after this, pawn capture queen h7, and when he capture here, pawn d3, the bishop is attacking, the queen is dominating all the squares. If the king goes here, simple queen h3 mate, okay? So rook e3 capture, and after king g4, simple mate with the queen on h3. So it was a very, very interesting checkmate. Instead that, queen h4, and after queen h4, king g8, knight g5, and bishop, and queen c5. Queen c5 is a mistake, okay? Because queen in that square is a really bad option. The good idea was to play with the queen on b6, and after queen b6, d4, and queen b1. And since this square, the queen on b1 is protecting h7. So this is the reason, because now the queen cannot access to h7, and the rook cannot access to f7, because queen take e1, it's generating initiative. Queen takes e1, queen takes the knight, blah, blah, blah. And it's forcing the exchange of the pieces, and the white will be playing in a very, very bad position. Instead that, queen c5 is mistake, because now the queen cannot pass. So after this d4, queen capture g5. Instead queen capture g5, the other interesting move, and this is the reason, because we have to analyze all the possibilities to find the best defense possible. The other option is queen f5. Queen f5 was enough. So check it like this is the reason, because queen b6 was good, right? Because the queen from since the b1 was protecting h7. Now the only square that the black can use after queen c5 is queen f5. And this is acceptable, because after rook capture, bishop capture, and at this point, if this bishop can go out, so the black will be playing with the two rooks against the queen. Obviously, the queen, it's better in the majority of the cases, but the truth is that if we can coordinate the rooks very well, the rooks will be better than the queen, okay? So then after that, queen capture g5, this is a mistake, queen capture g5, and after bishop take queen f4, and after this move rook f3 is interesting option, and king f7, and after king f7, simple rook takes e3. Instead that, it's much better that you simple save the bishop, okay? Because technically in this position, the black is playing with bishop against the bishop, rook against the rook, but now it's bishop and rook against the queen, and the black has many pawns. So technically the game is winning for white equals, but the possibilities for black to defend the games are very, very interesting too. So king f7, rook takes e3, and after g5, rook takes e7, and the white continue with attack. Queen d2, after this queen d3, and when bishop f5, queen c3, and rook ac8, capture, and queen e3. So now it's different, okay, because the black has only the rook against the queen, and this is not a good possibility. So rook c2, bishop a3, and after this capture, queen e8, and after this queen h8, bishop h7, queen f8. So other option interesting is simple capture here, and when the king goes here, I don't know, bishop take, and this is a good position. I don't know, probably h3, g4, bishop g3, something like that. But after that, queen f8, and after this, well, I think that it's possible to find a force mate after this queen take a2. Well, minimum queen take a2, it was an interesting check to get material advantage. Again, when you have material advantage, if you trade off everything, so this will be enough. Okay, so after this, king on f8, queen on f8, king on g6, queen capture d6, and after rook a1, king f2, bishop g8, but this game is totally loose. Bishop c4, queen here, and after this, queen e4, so queen d3, and after this, queen c3, and now the white is preparing the possibility to generate initiative throughout the dark squares using the bishop that they have. So after rook here, bishop b2, a5, d4, and after bishop f5, simple capture here, and the game was winning. So congratulations to Michael Meilinger, because his game was very good. The sacrifice was excellent attack. Yeah, and for me, I consider that this is the best game of the tournament for November 2025. And now the complement for this is the concept, because the concept is very, very important to understanding the positions. No, it's the Greek gift. So when we are analyzing a specific position and we have the conditions, we can establish the Greek gift to expose the king of our opponent and attack with our pieces. And here, this is one example where the conditions will be present, okay? For example, we need a pawn who's protecting f6, because if one knight can go on f6, the knight from f6 is defending the square on h7. So it's very important to have the pawn on e5. The second, well, this is the second basically, because the first is to have the bishop, okay? If we have the bishop to the sacrifice is possible. Because if you have the pawn on e5, but you don't have the light bishop, you don't have the Greek gift. The other condition is the knight on g5, okay? To attack against the king. This could be with the knight on g5 or moving the rook throughout the third rank, but this is other idea. The other plan is to have the bishop to protect the knight and the queen to pass again and start the attack against the king on h7, okay? So the queen should try to go immediately to the h file or a file, to the rook file, to establish the attack, okay? So normally these are the conditions necessarily to generate the attack with the Greek gift successfully. And then I recommend that if you have the time, okay, you can try to solve and establish, okay, the possible defenses for white in this type of position, okay? It's possible to save the game for black. It's not possible. After bishop take h7, what happened? What can the black king play? So they can capture, they can move the king here. What happened if capture? What happened if the king goes there on h8 and is protecting the king instead to be exposing the king, accepting the sacrifice of the bishop, okay? And that's it, okay? By this month, this will be the game of the month, and I hope that you enjoyed the analysis. And if you have some comments, you can send me comments. I will be posting my email at some place. And that's it, okay? See you the next month with this analysis. Thank you very much for everything. And thank you for Columbia Chess Club to give me the possibility to work with them about this analysis. It's a very, very interesting idea to motivate the new chess player to study and grow their level in this beautiful sport. Thank you very much.